by staying ahead of digital trends and using them to your advantage is the new competitive edge you need to drive success in your business. Join us in the Absa Women in Business as we simplify what cyber is, its impact on your business, and the opportunities it presents to you in today's global world.
Organizations today are expected to spend up to $256 billion. Our bank, for example, the cost of us protecting ourselves around cyber has increased 10 times. And there's a reason why, and we'll go into details as we go into the program. But what's important to note is that if you look at these numbers, this has become a huge industry that had never existed, and suddenly it's bigger than most of the economies that we have. Now, this is how it affects us at a global level, where we belong as a country. But even at a country level, the number of cyber incidents that we've had are so huge. You will have heard in the recent past, we've had a lot of cyber fraud incidents where people have lost money, because they've misused their credentials they've shared with a fraudster who has called them and said you have won something. And I've always said, how is it possible that we are not wise enough to realize that there's no way we can win a Benz that you've never worked for? And this is a very simple way that people every day lose money. On the local front, there's a number of things that are driving the cyber risk. Number one of them, and now we are going to get into a political, campaign season, and I'm just saying that as an off-guard. You will see a lot of fake news, and this is why it's very important to understand that all that is because of people taking advantage of the cyberspace. There's a lot of online scams. I've heard and I've read about a person in France who sent all their pension to a famous American actor because they believed they were talking to the person, and the person had promised that they would spend heavily thereafter. So that's one way that you can experience cyber. There's phishing, which can be broken down into many terminologies. Phishing is just that I always say phishing is setting up hooks to catch someone. We do it for fish, but this is where this fraudsters set up hooks to catch people and get information. There's also phishing, which they use via voice calls, and they call you. There's many ways that happens, but the most perhaps relatable way is you might have heard of someone's WhatsApp being taken over. That's very common, and this is because we know basic security features we are supposed to look out for. I'll conclude by saying there's also a lot of scams now, which is why 90% of any cyber fraud that happens is as a result of people motivated to access your funds, your hard-earned money. And so that's why we are seeing a lot of mobile money scams today, because people are interested in the money that you've worked hard for, and unfortunately they want to just make access to it without working for it.
Okay, and I think you bring out it's an interesting point where you ask, why would you assume that you can win a Benz that you haven't worked hard for? But I think anybody feels, well, this might be my lucky day, so we do take a chance. And I think that really is the essence that surrounds cybercrime, because we all assume this might be my lucky day, and they work on the concept of chance. So I think it's interesting for us to try and see, how do we actually start to bridge the aspect of might be my lucky day and actually applying the principles that help us to be, a bit more protected from the cyber crimes that come up.
Absolutely. Most times, Banji, fraudsters use what we call a least resistance path to you. If it's easier to get to you through an SMS, that's what they use. If it's easier to get through to you via an email, that's what they use. And that's how cyber they virtual. So it becomes very important that whatever point of interaction with an online platform you have is well understood. And so I just believe that this is why today becomes important for us, because this is not just about Absa. It's about everyone out there to help them understand that there's certain precautions you have to, even when you leave home in the morning, you don't just get up and then you get in the car. There's certain security features. You just don't drive out of the house. At the gate, you used to make sure it's closed. You get to the road, you indicate. It's the same security conscious we need to use around the cyberspace.
Okay, and I think you bring in an important aspect when you highlight, everyday scenarios that, pose a risk for us. And maybe for me, it's really trying to understand how cyber can be applied to everyday life. I know you've, almost steered us in terms of the threats that exist in an everyday space, but how can it be more applicable in our everyday life?
Thank you, Banji. And let me take your question from understanding why this is applicable every day and why it's become a big part of us. We currently exist in what we call the digital economy, right? And the digital economy is simply just that, transactions and business that we do online. There's many things that people today buy from, China, the US, and in the comfort of your home, you do that. What it means, and I want to underline this word, is that the threat surface has significantly increased. Now, before now, obviously, businesses used to transactions used to be different. Today, as I speak to you, for example, as Absa, over 90% of our transactions are online. What that means is that our threat surface as customers has become exponentially grown. That if we do not understand what is required in protecting where we trade from and the responsibility we have, it becomes complex. Let me just zero in again, and it's very important for us to give context by sharing statistics. The digital economy itself is projected to contribute 8% of Africa's GDP by 2025. Now, this is coming off 5% in 2020. And when you look at what has happened to internet penetration, it's going to reach about 60%. And in some markets, it's even higher than that. So we're literally just averaging it across Africa. This is going to reach roughly 800 million users. Now, 800 million users is good business for the economy and for fraudsters as well, if you like. That becomes very important that this 800 million users, this 800 population, this includes the 20 million we have in Zambia, is well equipped with knowledge around their responsibility in the digital space. We have spoken about e-commerce. Now, e-commerce really is, as I've explained, transactions that we are able to do online using digital means. Again, this space is going to grow by $25 billion at the end of this year. So when you think about it, we are living in an economy where everything is happening online. So at the end of the day, we need to be very careful that we understand that this is our way of life. The digital economy now is not necessarily something that is detached from us. It's our environment. Last year alone, the technology space was one of top 2 or 3 contributors to the GDP. This year will continue to be the same, and we are already seeing that there's significant investment. The digital economy, Banji, is exactly why you are also seeing an equivalent growth in the cyber risk or cybersecurity space, because people also find opportunities where there's growth, and opportunities are different. Because today, like I say, there's people who wake up every day and their job, Banji, is to look at how they can make your money. So they're looking at this 800 million and say, how can I get from here? And that's where what we're dealing with now.
So I just want us to take a moment and maybe stay around the e-commerce piece, because I think when you look at it from a business side, this is really where a lot of our businesses are sitting. So whether you're looking at it from a startup, these are businesses that are going into, the whole incubation process, or they're going into the acceleration programs, just to help them to get to post-profit. And majority of them would probably be sitting and thinking, I'm startup, cyber does not apply to me at all. And I note that, a lot of times we will say it's a startup business, even 5 years from inception. So how do we just make sure that our audience is really able to understand this piece, which I think is really critical. And I know you've brought out key aspects around it, but just for us to dwell a little bit more around the e-commerce piece, because e-commerce is also the future for businesses to scale up. E-commerce is your digital marketplace, where you can't physically penetrate, a physical market. You can use e-commerce to scale up your business. But therein also lies the bigger threat of cyber. As you're opening up your space, as you're trying to have new markets, you're also prone to having more cyber risk around your business.
Thank you, Banji. I think you cannot today separate technology from running a business. So technology is actually the business itself today. Now, the startups, and if you can see what we are sharing here, just the fintech space alone is going to contribute up to 5,000 startups. And this is just a small portion of the whole population. There's going to be significant dependence on digital and just the understanding of the cyberspace. Now, let's just take it 2 steps backwards and understand why. First of all, the value that technology brings to everyone is not just efficiency, it's also cost of goods, it's also just the quality of decision and the products. Now, if this is your space, and it doesn't matter what you sell, it could be chickens in the backyard to a whole store in a shopping mall, your point of transactions will require that your level of cyber awareness is the right one. It could be you actually doing business online, because today others just say, I probably don't need a physical store. So when you're collecting that information about your customers and you're using it to make detailed data and just decisions around your business, understand that there's opportunity for others to take that data and use it. And that's why as we go down, you will see, we talk about the dark web, because there's just opportunity in the way that you store your data. I always say, and I want to be on record, any organization today, Banji, that does not take care of how its data is gathered, it's stored and accessed, will struggle in the next 5 years. Now, if you look at data, data itself then becomes a basis for which you can drive your digital business. So first of all, protect your data. Once you do that, then you've got an opportunity for your digital business, which is really e-commerce. Now, e-commerce has many facets to it. There's a component where banks or financial institutions provide you payment platforms. Remember, I had said earlier that 80% of fraud, digital fraud, is motivated by the need to access your money. So this is not just about big institutions. The day that you decide that I'm going to start a business, whether you're pre or post revenue, understand that you need to embed the right cyber practices. It's the right thing to do. If you ask a fundamental question, Ranji, would you open a store today and leave the door open because you think that no one will steal? It's the same mindset we need to have with our cyber environment. Any information you collect about customers need to be secure, which is why I would be looking at any SME today and say, invest in the right cyber posture, because that then can save you and drive your business. At the core of it, if you've done business or if you've done a transaction on any platform and there's a fraud, you know what you'll do next time? Next time you'll be uncomfortable to do it. So other than just understanding the impact of e-commerce on businesses, it's very important to note that it's actually could easily be a competitive advantage, because a confident customer gives you growth. So for me, any form of SME out there, get your cyber posture right. In the absence of that, it will be a business that goes as soon as it meets the first challenge.
And I think you bring out an important point when you say that every business, regardless of the stage that it's at, must embed, the right cyber practices or the right cyber posture, as you call it. So I think for me, that sort of starts to steer us in the right direction in terms of where do we need to be when it comes to businesses. How do we make sure that we are not thinking that cyber is really just for big organizations? but it really starts with every one of us. So maybe before I get into the next question, this is just a reminder to our audience. If you've just joined us or you joined us as the conversation was happening, if you have a question, please remember to post it in the chat. We will be able to read it out as we go, or and that is if it's pressing, or if you prefer, when we are getting to the Q&A session, you can simply turn on your mic, turn on your camera if you're comfortable, raise your and then you would be able to ask the question once you have raised your hand and are able to introduce yourself. So I just thought it's important that we get to that. So now we've spoken about what cyber is, the importance of cyber, and how it can be applied in our everyday life. Maybe the next fundamental question for me would be, how do cyber attacks actually happen?
Thank you, Ranji, and indulge me to just get a bit more technical, so we don't lose the meaning. So there's common ways that cyber threats or cyber attacks happen, and I'll single out 4. I did touch on them a bit, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands. And also, most importantly, because I know these words are corridor words. You hear, there's a malware attack, there was phishing, there was ransomware, there's social engineering. So all the opportunity surfaces for cyber will happen in one of those. Now, if you hear malware, please, dear customers, colleagues, audience, and everyone listening to us today or watching us, malware is a short word for malicious software. Now, malicious means just that. It's software intended to do harm. So you might have heard of the word Trojan horse or virus. That's exactly what malware is. And it's designed that at the click of a button, Ranji, malware can actually maybe crash your machine or even damage your database where you're storing your customer data. Phishing, which is one of the most common used ways that cyber threats happen, is deceptive communication, Ranji. So what happens there is someone calls you to pretend that they're who they're not. And this combined with other cyber tools that people use can be very deadly. We have read, and you can check online, a story of an organization in the East where Ranji, there was simulation of an entire executive leadership in an organization, and they simulated the CFO, the CEO, and they simulated the finance team, and an instruction was sent and a huge payment was done. This has also happened in Africa. So it's very important that this basic, and I call it basic common cyber activities understood. This is where I always say all of us and you should be open enough to share even small practices, because this could be me explaining to an audience that is exposed, and maybe my grandmother is not. So we need to help them understand what phishing is and simplify it to that level. Now, ransomware is where someone holds you ransom using software. Simple as that. So what then happens is that the person finds a way that they can encrypt your data, and then they demand a ransom. And against the risk of mentioning organizations, this has happened even in Zambia. It means that this is not far off. And the last one is social engineering, the famous one. So I want us to understand that at the end of the day, cyber attacks will happen using one of those means, and this becomes important. But there's also new ones emerging. I'm sure you've heard of artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Before now, cyber fraudsters would take days to build a code that would hack your environment. It's taking minutes.
Wow.
Minutes now. There's also other big ones like quantum computing, and obviously this is technical, but I'm happy to just say this is just Promax, if you want to use the word Promax computing. But one of the main common ones is deepfake, what we call deepfake, where I can get someone else's face and voice, and I actually manipulate yours and make it look like it's you. This is big because some people have also been defrauded using that. There's many other ones, but I'll just end with maybe talking to you about the dark web economy. This is a famous one, Ranji. Why? Because the dark web is actually now a full business where people can sell you code to go and attack a business. And this is a very big part of what the cyber environment has become. And we need people to understand that this is real and can damage our business exponentially with one click of a button.
So I sort of want to stay on deep fakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at what is happening within a social media environment, I think right now the world is so attuned to what is going on, within social media. Sometimes you don't even know what's real and what's not. Because you're going to see images, you're going to get news, and you don't know whether it's real or not. And maybe from a business point, that also becomes a bigger threat, because sometimes you could just get a notification, and maybe, for example, if I'm in sales and I get a message or a voice note from my boss, same voice, saying, can you move this money or can you transfer this money, to a certain account? And because it sounds like the person, it looks like the person, you would almost be tempted.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think that's where sometimes I start to worry, to what extent has cyber really become a threat to our everyday life? And I think that's why this conversation is so important, because many a time we may not actually look at it from a business point and just think it's only happening in the social circles, but people are actually developing tactics that can actually attack business. So I don't know what your take would be on that, particularly from a business lens.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the biggest concerning points around cyber. If you need to know this, Ranji, your exposure to cyber, like I said, is 24/7. Whether you are awake or sleeping. Studies today show that every human being, 9 out of 10 human beings, access their phone within 9 seconds of waking up.
Mm-hmm.
That's how dependent you are on the web, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just you can imagine, and that's to what extent you're exposed. Because when you're sleeping, someone is trying to hack your system, as an example. When you are there on your gadget, someone is trying to do phishing and they are trying to get ahead of get access to information. Now, deepfake has something that I always try and help people understand. Because it's fake, there's always going to be something that remains there. If you closely look at even the voice aspect of deepfake, there's always something that's going to sound very, very programmed, very computer-like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you look at the face, you will see if it's a voice or a video, the expressions on the face will give out. But what's important is that in the event that it's very difficult for you to understand the deepfake, it becomes very, very important, very important, Ranji, that you still use the alternative means to confirm. So if today I then send you an SMS that is slightly out of routine,
mm-hmm.
therein is a cue for you, because that then would allow you to understand, say, okay, usually, yes, Owen does ask for approvals via email, but let me just double check, because there's what we call management practice, and management practice will be in a certain type of way, which is why we need to be careful that the way that we protect ourselves against cyber is understanding a combination of many facets to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's an element that looks at, for example, phishing, because remember, if we phish and we access your system, we have already found an intrusion point. The second bit to that is now you've given us access to your system because your controls in one area have failed. And now we come and give you a deep fake a risk, which would be maybe a voice or a picture or whatever it is. Now, ultimately, Benji, this is what I want you to know about deepfakes, about cyber, that it doesn't matter what system protection you put and how much you invest.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest cyber is a human. And that's why we at the office say you are the human firewall, because you begin to be the first point of control for any cyber intrusion.
Okay, so I'll just take a moment. We've got a comment in the chat, and maybe it's also aligned to the next question that I had, which is really on how are we going to prevent the threats that you spoke about a few minutes ago from happening. But we have a comment coming from Jason Jobu. Jason says, "Thank you, Owen. How can we as a bank support the SME industry and strategic partners to manage cyber risk?" And I think you've briefly touched on this, but maybe just getting into that aspect and then proceeding on to talk about how we can actually start to prevent some of the cyber risks that we're seeing from happening. So I think the two questions are almost interlinked.
So maybe run it through even quickly. Exactly one of the things we're doing here is just that. I want to believe here we support some of our customers, if not most of them. And Justin, it's a very big question you ask. Is the first thing we need to do is provide the information with knowledge. That becomes important because you see, like I said, the biggest protection we have against cyber, first of all, is the human firewall. But the second bit to that is the way that we build our products and services when it becomes very key in balancing the need to provide the right customer experience and protect the customer. The other way is just need to be very sure, Justin, and this is from a legal point of view and not usually used, is that our terms and conditions around responsibility matrix need to be clear, but we need to make sure that our customers are aware. But at the core of it is that our systems and our products we build just need to be secure. The basic stuff around how do you access your mobile banking? How do you do transactions and transfer? Is it secure? Have we followed international standards? Have we done all the technology controls? For example, there's what we call pen testing, which is a process that allows us to try and hack into our system ourselves with support of experts, so that we can almost assure our customers that our platforms are secure. So there's many ways, Justin, but if you ask me to summarize, it is that we need to make sure that we continue to educate our customers and our businesses. We continue to build what we call fit for purpose products, and this is making sure that the products are alive to the cyber opportunities and threats. We continue to also make sure that even in our ways of work, we know our lines of responsibility, which is the terms of reference. This becomes very important, Justin, because in the absence of this, it can create a very toxic environment. The credibility to how secure our platforms are, not just as a bank, but products that we supply, whether you are a small holder, a small, medium enterprise, or a large business. The credibility comes from the fact that customers trust that you take care of their needs when you are building your solutions.
Okay, so maybe also, I know you've spoken about it from a bank perspective in terms of this is what we need to do and this is what we are doing, and I think really that has been the essence of us having all the masterclasses, particularly one such as this today, is for us to be able to drive awareness on the critical points that our clients, particularly the business enterprises, need. But what are some of those basic elements, if I can call them, that we need to apply as businesses on a daily basis?
Okay. So first of all, Banju, whether you are a big organization or a small one, I've always said the biggest and most simple intrusion point is the login bit. Mm-hmm. So to any business today, Banju, any business today, the biggest attention should be paid to how people access your platforms. Now, as simple as the use of strong passwords today, as it sounds like that, Banji, I can tell you, if you don't take care of it becomes very difficult. I know there's organizations today that require you to have a password that is up to at least 14 character sets. And when you do that, I know from a customer experience, people say, but that's too much. But I can tell you, today, even a 10-year-old can figure out a 4-letter password. This is just basic algorithm. So on a daily basis, whether it's a business access to your platforms, to your systems that own your core business, please make sure your passwords are strong enough, just so that you can take away the initial risk. The second thing is, if you're using the digital space, today, I'm sure when you receive, when you use Wi-Fi, you see that your phone is telling you there's a need to update software. That's very important, because here's what happens. When you build a product at any given time, the fraudsters are also trying to find out how to intrude, right? And that's why a responsible organization will also then continue to upgrade their system to make sure that that's taken care of. So please, I encourage everyone, whether it's a software you bought for accounting, whether it's a product that you bought to just manage your inventory, make sure that there's regular updates.
Okay.
The big one also is this, that today, Ranji, any button that you click is a data point. But you have a responsibility to think before you click. Do not click without thinking. And again, to all our businesses and our customers, as simple as this sounds, do not be in the habit of clicking and opening any emails. Just think twice, and if you're not sure, consult. The other one, which is very difficult, is that social media, as good as it is, sometimes sells your life, your business. So what happens is that in that process, it also gives the fraudsters the ability to pick a trend, and which is why, when you remember, we spoke earlier about deepfake, because part of how a deepfake will have to succeed is that someone has profiled you. So social media, and I want to say this, that's why we need to be very careful what we post. We have read, and you can check again online, how there's people who have picked a character of a child, and because someone is posting the child, the other fraudsters build a personality of another person online, and the consequence of that can be very big. The other one, I want to just say this, because people are very big on scanning. Everywhere you go, you want to scan.
And is that in reference to QR codes? When you say scanning, what are we referring to?
Yes, and QR codes are one of the easiest ways that you can give access to someone, to your platforms. And because 90% of our phones are now, our lives are now on the phone, again, when you're not sure, ask. Do not scan email. And I'll conclude by saying that the other one, these are not in any order, by the way, is that this thing where people say, no, we want free Wi-Fi, is dangerous. I want to say everything free, there's no free lunch, right? So be careful how you walk around hotels and you are scanning free Wi-Fis. That's the easiest way that you can be attacked. So if you look at all these that I've listed, and there are many others, these will be the ways that either it happens or it doesn't happen. And it becomes important for us to understand.
Okay, so we've got a question. We've got two questions actually. So Jacob Kasongo and Abraham Manda, I do see your questions. I'll just ask that we hold on just a little bit, I think just for a few minutes, so that we can almost start to get towards the close of the presentation, and then we'll get into the Q&A. So the first two questions that will kick off our Q&A will be from Jacob and Abraham. So maybe Owen, just to get into the gist. But if anybody else has questions, please just continue to post the questions, and then we'll be able to read them out as we are quickly getting into the Q&A session.
Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, so as I was explaining, Ranji, I just wanted to also just take this moment and help our colleagues and help our customers understand something. What I have here on the screen is an illustration of something very unique, and this is a very common social media. Others would call it a meme, but I think there's a powerful message to it. A few years ago, some 20 years ago or below or before, when some of us were starting work, I hope I'm not giving out too much information. It was the biggest threat we had was physical, where robbers would come into the bank and they threaten you with gas. Mm-hmm. A few years later, what has happened, Ranji, is that we have changed the way we do businesses. And I'm very specific because this is banking as an example. We have built digital platforms. Over 90% of our transactions are now happening online. So what this is trying to tell us, Ranji, now is that it's the threat surface has increased, but on the other side, it means that for as long as you are now in control of your bank account and your transactions, That's where the fraudster is going to look at exploiting. So this picture is trying to tell you and me that now, because we are not doing as much in the branch, now we've gone digital. Now even fraudsters know that it's much easier to do it online. But it's only as easy as we know or we don't. So if we have the right cyber hygiene at a personal level, at a business level, where we know that the way that we pay our taxes is going to be online because we have access to our money, we know that the way we buy our goods and services is online, it becomes very important to know that we need to be very careful with the way we are protecting our investments. I will tell you this on this picture, is that you can lose everything you've worked for the whole year in one click of a button. Which is why you need to be very careful as a business that you're running to understand that all businesses now is happening online. And you have a responsibility to make sure that your practices, your tendencies around cyber are in the right state of mind.
And I think that's really powerful when you say, both powerful and scary, when you say you can lose everything that you've worked for in a year with a click of a button. And I think it brings us back to the point that you raised earlier in terms of making sure that even before you click, even before you scan, you ask yourself, how legitimate is this site, or how legitimate is this code, or even the free Wi-Fi that I think we're always asking for. So I think for me that's a very fundamental piece of information.
Very powerful. And I think that we need to get to a point where this information is understood by everyone.
Yeah. So maybe as we we are getting closer to coming towards the end of today's session, my question would be, why should businesses be mindful of good cyber practices? I know we've spoken about it. I know you've highlighted some of the key elements, but on a day-to-day basis, making ourselves a little bit more aware, why is that just, why should businesses be mindful of that?
Thank you, Vanjay. And there's many reasons to that, and we'll try and just see if we can get into a few. There's a reason why businesses should have the right cyber hygiene, the right cyber health, if you want to call it, so they can protect their hard-earned money, but also their investments. In the last couple of years, a number of things have happened. There's been a lot of rapid digital transformation, which is why I was saying, you as a bank would have been doing 10% of 100% transaction manually, but now almost 100% is happening digital. So there's a huge digital transformation. The use of AI now has come in, and a lot of our processes are becoming automated. That is increasing the opportunity for cyber fraud as well on the downside. I spoke a bit when we started around why data has become king, because technology allows you to collect data. These vast amounts of data create an opportunity for people to do very good things, build the right products, make the right decisions, but also this data can be stolen. There is a situation that happened in one of the neighboring countries where the technology, a startup grew exponentially, and at the center of it was a young tech guy who helped the organization collect all the data. And in no time, the competition hired this young man. The downside to this was the young man did not get the data, yes, no, but because no one understood how to manage the data, he went with the experience and the skill to another organization, and that just changed it. So again, this is why organizations need to invest in the right cyber posture. The third one is, I also understand, and I think I want to address our SMEs directly on this one. We might not have the right resources to invest in a cyber framework in our organization, but it's very important that we leverage on what's available. You can be Ranji and Sons, but you can actually still get an expert to give you the cyber framework, through a service, because people now provide this, so that you don't have to invest in a whole team and in a whole platform that you probably will not use effectively. You can actually already get there. I do understand that there's a huge shortage of skills, and you will have known that we had run hackathons, and that's what we try to do, because this is a new area and it's an emerging opportunity that has come. So from how we are set up as a country and globally, I would say to our SMEs, encourage as many people as possible to just build skills and be part of the training. At the center of it again, which is what most organizations are suffering from and struggling with, is that there's a lot of legacy platforms. I don't see most organizations investing in new platforms every year. Today, your technology degree is only as valid as 3 years. You have to consistently study. What that means also is that a 10-year system has become legacy. This is different from 10, 20 years ago, because systems would be built to last for 20, 30 years. Today, you cannot exist on the same system for more than 3 to 5 years, because competition will build something better and so forth. Maybe let me conclude by telling you the big one, which is what is causing 90% of the challenge, is that there's lucrative targets. Again, your hard-earned money, Vanji, your hard-earned money, and as our businesses, protect it, because that's what fraudsters are looking for. In a nutshell, Vanji, these and many other ways are the ways that we need to understand are the root cause of why businesses need to invest in the right cyber posture, but also are the reasons why today the threat surface has increased, and therefore causing us this problem out of the bigger opportunities that we have.
Okay, and maybe we've touched on something really important, particularly for the businesses, because many a time when you look at the workforce, when it comes to the digital space or the technology space, it almost seems extremely expensive. So if I'm a business owner right now and I'm listening to this whole conversation and I'm thinking, where do I get the right support? Where can I get a consultant of sort, if I can call it that, to come in and just check where I'm sitting as a business? Is there, in other spheres or other disciplines, you'll find that there are associations of sort. Does that exist within the tech space where, people can actually go and try and get, some form of support if somebody's thinking about that right now?
Absolutely, Mandri. And if you notice, if I take you just 2 steps backwards, if you notice what has happened in the last 5 to 10 years, I think long before now, Zika wasn't there. There's a data agency, there's a cyber agency as well. What that is telling you is that even the government itself is paying attention to this space. And what I do like from what has been happening in the last couple of years is that there's specific attention that we're giving to SMEs, because they form over 90% of our businesses in the country. What you see, and we gave in earlier statistics, is that there's been a huge surge of what we call fintechs.
Yeah.
But alongside that, they've created opportunities for what we call technology companies supporting technology delivery. In the country, there's plenty. Obviously, I'm not in a position to start mentioning who they are. But one thing I can tell you is that you can access cyber services, cyber solutions as a service, where you can approach a properly registered organization to come and do even a basic assessment. That allows you to balance between how much you can invest in a product or in the cyber space of the organization, or you can actually recruit. Now, if this is a $10 trillion business, I don't know if we should be looking at it as expensive. And if this is going to create the credibility for your organizations to grow, maybe you should look at it as an investment. But at the core, at the center of this is that it's more expensive if we don't do it. The consequence of not doing the right thing is much more.
Yeah.
If you invest 10% of your business revenue into a proper cyber platform, it's a better loss than 100% cyber fraud.
Okay, and I think that that really is the key aspect of saying we must look at it as an investment. Technology is the future, and we're here right now. So I don't think we can think and say, okay, I'm only going to be able to invest in the next 5 years, because times are changing every single day. And I think it's just fundamental that all our clients, the businesses that are listening in, must be able to start thinking of how do we start to plug that in. And with that said, I think we've been clicking, trying to check on the next slide and the next slide, and suddenly it says end of session. And I just sort of feel like, time has gone by so quickly. It's always amazing how an hour can go by so quickly. So maybe just in the interest of time and for our clients as well, I did indicate earlier that we had 2 questions from Jacob and Abraham, but we have some other questions. So this will now get us into the Q&A session. So if you have any other questions, please drop them in the chat, or if you prefer to ask the question directly, just raise your hand and then be able to unmute at the point where we're going to call your name, and then we'll be able to go. So Kali, I do see your hand, but maybe first let's just get into the questions, and then I'll be able to get into the raised hand. So the first question, and I'm going to paraphrase some of these questions because obviously we can't give the exact detail that has been raised. So a question from Jacob says, still on the subject of phishing, there is a kind of phishing that is more prevalent in Zambia now, SMS phishing. My question is it more prevalent on other providers? And in this case, without mentioning the service providers, we're just going to holistically look at it from an MNO point, our mobile network operators. Is it because why do cybersecurity hygiene seem to be missing within the MNO space, if at all? Maybe let's put that as a qualifier, if at all they are missing. But I think Jacob's concern is really around the SMS phishing.
Okay. So thank you, Jacob, for your question. Quite difficult to respond because you're talking about an industry that I'm not sure I can speak about, but I can respond to your question from a technical perspective. First of all, it's because the opportunity that mobile network operators create is huge. That's probably at a personal level and even to a large extent at the business level. That's where 80% of your digital activity is happening through them. So you realize that in that case, then your threat surface has increased. The second thing, and I'm going to speak about this sparingly, that the extent to which you are creating an opportunity for cyber fraud to happen is related to your investment. Now, I'm not best qualified to say this. I want to underline this, whether the MNOs are investing the right way. But it also means that if they are attacking Bank X more than Bank Y, perhaps there's a number of things that there's an underlying issue. Is there the right cyber awareness? Which is why, from our perspective as a bank, for example, we are undertaking this program. And the reason is that we want to help our customers be well informed. Like I said, human firewall. The second thing is, it's actually possible to have solutions that can track and block SMS phishing. It is possible. Is there investment in that? Is it where the investment? I'm not sure. The third one is that, unfortunately, and I'm going to say this, Manji, is that part of it is driven by collaboration. So it speaks into the culture in the organization. Who is accessing information? How are they using it? So SMS phishing is a component of all those things. And unfortunately, to address it, you need to make sure that the things that I've spoken about are rightly gotten in order. But I spoke about Zicta as well. And Zicta, very good partners to banking. They also come in because the phishing might not necessarily stop, but what do we do after? And we need to be able to understand the role that Zicta plays, the role that the Cyber Commission plays, but also the Data Commission. So we need everyone to play their part.
Okay.
And that way we can reduce this problem.
Okay, so Jacob, I hope that answers your question. Definitely a takeaway for us. Maybe in future masterclasses, is that an opportunity to actually bring in our MNO partners for some sort of conversation, but we'll take that away for today. The next question is coming from Abraham Manda, and Abraham says, if you had to secure a company with a limited budget, what areas would you prioritize and why? So securing, I suppose, within a cyberspace. And what's your take on password managers and MFA apps, especially since Chrome, in brackets Google, has won and recently had a data leak, and I think it may be the most used web browser by a lot of users and organizations. So that is a question from Jacob. If you had a company with a limited budget, how would you secure it? What areas would you prioritize and why? And then also around the aspect of your take on password managers and MFA apps. And please explain MFA apps for those of us.
I will. I think this is a very powerful question, and thank you so much for this question. I'll try and not get very technical because we need to carry everyone along. I've always said that the biggest cyber investment is in your people. First of all, you as a business owner invest in yourself in understanding basic cyber hygiene. Why do I say this? Because even with the biggest security platform, you are still only as good as the people that can use it. So where would I invest? Where would I keep my focus? I'd keep my focus on, first of all, creating the right knowledge, the right awareness, and that creates the right posture. So it creates the right culture in the organization. Did you know that actually sometimes fraudsters would actually get to you through even the person that makes the tea in the business, in the bank or in your business, the person that does the cleaning, because they have access to your computer when you're not there. So I still insist that we must invest correctly in driving the right knowledge. Because even if you put in the right password manager, now coming to the second part of the question, still there has to be a human element that manages that. When you look at the fact that even Microsoft had a breach or had an intrusion, it tells you that systems can only do so much. Actually, if you go across all organizations today, they'll tell you the threat of cyber, if you look at the way we do risk rating, it doesn't end. It's the only risk in most organizations that's evolving. You can't say we've reached target and therefore we are fully cyber proof. No, because what happens, Ranji, is that at the end of the day, when you reach the peak of it, the fraudsters are also building. So it's an evolving target. I do recommend you invest in a password manager, yes, but I also do recommend that the way that then you manage it becomes important. So Ranji, password manager, just for context and everybody listen to us, is how do we secure our passwords just so we make sure that they're not abused or they're not accessed. And that's exactly what my colleague is asking.
Okay, thank you. And I hope, Abraham, that answers your question. We'll go to the next question, which is coming from Lincoln Chewe. Lincoln says, great discussion. You did mention that one of the weakest link to cyber attacks is at login stage. You did emphasize on keeping strong passwords, but the majority of people, it becomes a challenge such that they find it difficult to remember those complex passwords. What efficient and safe practices would you advise on password management culture without us using the same password over and over again?
Yeah, so this would be me giving out information to fraudsters, right?
Okay, so we have to be careful in that.
Yeah, so and this is how it plays out, by the way, Ranji. In this session, when you send out the comms that you're going to be training, even fraudsters join and listen. Unfortunately, and that's how life is. I was at a meeting today in the morning, and something powerful was mentioned, that we're almost all thieves in waiting. Some of us just haven't had a chance. So even this information we're giving, it's intended well. But now we are going to explain how to make sure your password is secure. It also can be abused. And that's the reality of our lives. But how do you make sure that you secure a password? I've always said, I think a long enough password is good. Today, the standard practice for most organizations, even like us, is up to 14. But it's good practice that your passwords are related to something that you know, but not very common. So, but also just try and build patterns because they're very helpful. Don't say my password is Owen 12345, because even when I'm keying in, someone can see that, you're Owen and you follow. And even on your phone, did you know that on your phone, now let me even let you in on this one. On your phone, if you use your phone for more than a couple of months, what will happen is that where you click the most, it shows.
Oh.
So literally, a person that intends to actually figure out how you access your phone can. Now, this is why we say change your password often. So change your password often, because if you keep your same password for 2 years, definitely where you click it will show. The other bit that you have to look out for, as you said, secure your password, use the special characters. Now, special characters are always good, because even when we use AI to figure out passwords, it becomes much more complex. The last best practice on password is make sure they are alphanumeric, which means they should have letters and numbers. That is a good practice, and you need to be able to do it. I don't encourage, though, that you should key your password and write it on a piece of paper.
Okay.
Which is why the question around password manager was good, because you can actually then secure your password there. But obviously, at a bigger scale, you invest correctly, because it's an organizational level. But please, whatever you do, just make sure that the way that you do your password has the following taken care of: alphanumeric, long enough. Make sure it is not following an easy sequence, Owen Malambo 1, 2, 3. No, But also, what is very nice, as I conclude on password, Banji and everybody else, always go for things that people least expect. Maybe your favorite teacher in grade 1, but backwards. That becomes very only you remember, because it becomes very easy, or a memorable. But just don't make sure you use common things like your pet. Because you talk to your friends about your pet, and then they figure out, and then you say, someone asks you, oh, okay, what's your pet name? You say, okay, and when were you born? Eventually,
they can figure it out. Okay, so we've got the next question that is coming from Kepas. And Kepas Kayombo says, thank you for offering the masterclass, Mr. Owen. I'm a student at ZCAS in my second last semester studying cybersecurity. So there's somebody from a resourcing point, NCC education. What advice would you give a student like me who's decided to specialize myself as a SOC, I hope it's SOC analyst in the cybersecurity sector?
Thank you so much, and well done. I think you are, let me not say I think, you are actually in the right field. The reason is very simple. For those that are looking to grow their careers, cyber has opportunity, because right now, Banji, what we're talking about is, do you remember we started off innovation, and then we went into the data frenzy. Now people are talking about AI, but AI has even evolved. There's what we call agentic AI. When you look at all that, it means that the digital space will continue to evolve and evolve. Now, when you look at what that means, it also means that we need people like him with the right skill set. What I can tell you is that whatever you're studying now, in the next five years might not be relevant. So my advice to you is, be a learner. Me here today, probably one of my biggest characteristics is that I still study today, even when I'm in a job that allows me to focus on today's risk. I still need to prepare tomorrow. So to you, my advice would be, you are actually on the right path. You and your friends that are studying, number one. Number two, maybe this is not very technical. What I've always said is that being tech talented alone is not enough. Try to do some things that can help you, bring you closer. Banji, we've got, as a bank, and this is an opportunity I can use, we've got different products, we've got ready to work, we've got our 2 innovation hubs. I always say we never built this with a specific person in mind, rather than everyone who's Zambian. So just make time, find out where our hubs are, join. And also, I know we can't manage this. Approach people. I've been approached by brilliant students, Banji, who say, I want this, and they just never left my side. Be the right border, so we can support you.
Okay, I like that. Be the right border, right? Maybe that's a big takeaway for all of us, just to ensure that we are constantly knocking on the door so that we get the right level of support. So we've got a question from Mashapi Matimba. Mashapi says, you mentioned earlier that awareness training is one way to strengthen the human element in cybersecurity. But we've noticed that even with regular simulations and training, people still fall for the same things. how can organizations go deeper beyond awareness to really change behavior and build a stronger security culture?
Thank you. And the biggest word that's mentioned there, Banji, is culture. Anything you want transformed in the organization starts from the top and the tone. Part of it is reward, and you find this very strange. Reward good behavior as much as possible. So, for example, most organizations today, they do what we call phishing simulations, right? There's always repeat offenders. So I'm using the word reward. So what do you reward for someone who keeps making the same mistake? I'll tell you this. If you have an employee in your organization that is consistently making you lose money, what do? I don't have an answer for you, but I would like you to think through that. But then I always say that cyber fraud, cyber crime is like that big accident, right? Sometimes you just read about it, sometimes you just hear about it because it hasn't happened to you. So when it happens to you, you begin to appreciate it better. But like every day, like Randy, do you wait to have a big accident to understand that it's dangerous? No. So why am I saying this? What I'm saying is to build the right culture of an organization, be very clear, first of all, from the top. If you are the MD of the organization and everyone that's there, the cyber tendencies need to be right. Build the right culture. Encourage people that come up with solutions that help you keep the right hygiene, but also reward. And I underline that. Reward people that don't get it right. And by that, if we're doing a phishing simulation and they're the same person who's failing for 10 times, perhaps we subject you to training and also, unfortunately, consequence management, because you are a bigger risk. So we might think that, oh no, we will lose you, but you're one person compared to us losing our entire profit as an organization.
Okay. So we did have a hand from Kali, and maybe took us a little bit long with the other questions. So Kali, I'm not sure whether you want to personally ask the question or I can go into reading out the question. So I'll just take a pause. I also did see that we had a hand from Grace Mutonga. So Grace, also not sure if you still want to have the question asked. So I'll just take a pause. Kali, if you're good for us to proceed, give me a thumbs up so I can read the question, or you'd like to come on mic and ask the question. Similarly for Miss Grace as well. So Kali, thumbs up. Okay, there's no thumbs up from Kali, so I'll proceed to ask Kali's question. Kali says, very insightful session. Thank you so much, Owen and Manji. I wanted to speak my question. Unfortunately, I won't be able to. So, okay, he actually indicated in the chat. Owen, what's your take on this with regards to social engineering risk? I went into a renowned chain store supermarket recently, and they were running a promotion campaign where you drop your receipt into a box. You write your name, phone number, and NRC in a book. So everyday practical scenario where we give out all the critical information.
There was a question earlier around phishing and emails, and sometimes to speak on their behalf, it's because you and me go to offices and we get to the gate and we put our name and our number. That becomes a very powerful database that people can take away and begin to do stuff with that information, number one. Which is why, remember, Banji, when we started, I spoke about any organization today needs to be very careful how they are accessing data, storing it, and giving access. Because in the absence of that, Banji, what you create is opportunity for fraudsters to take advantage. So directly to Kali, unfortunately for me, that's a good customer retention activity, but a very bad cyber practice, because unless they can guarantee that after using those receipts, then they're going to take them and burn them, and they have to sign somewhere. It becomes very difficult, and many times when information like that is disposed, you find it anyway. So for me, and that's where social engineering becomes a very big problem. You get that information, you know that now Kali spends most of his money at this shop. So even when we're going to do phishing you, we already have information about you that you didn't think we do. And unfortunately, where there's collaboration with other players in the market, we end up having a situation where someone is giving information on your account balance, someone knows where you buy, it sounds obvious. And so again, Kali, which is why I'm saying all of us have a role to play in creating the right cyber hygiene at a personal level and at a business level.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to take the last two questions before we come to the final close of today's masterclass. So the next question is coming from Lomtunzi. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Lomtunzi Glovo says, as platforms continue to strengthen digital security through two-factor authentication, how can you manage the complexity it introduces for customers, especially balancing ease of use, device accessibility, and the safety of authentication methods? In Zambia's context, where device reliability and connectivity can vary, what strategies are in place to ensure 2FA remains both secure and inclusive for all users?
This is a very good technical question from Lomtunzi. Lomtunzi, I see you, and very good question. So this context to 2FA or two-factor authentication, maybe just for everyone's benefit, Ranjit, is that it's a two-step verification when you're trying to log in. And he's asking us, how do we then make sure that is secure and something that is universally understood?
Mm-hmm.
There's many ways, Lomtunzi, to understand how that can be done. I think that as an option, primarily, if it's available, let's make it easy to use to our customers, number one. But two-factor authentication is just one of many. And hope you don't oversleep, Lomtunzi and everybody else. You can still use your thumb, the others use their eyes as a way that we make sure that access to devices is secure. You can also use your email, where it can send a prompt to then reset and notify you. There's many ways that we do it, but I appreciate that Lomtunzi is talking about it from a specific country understanding, because sometimes Ranji might have 3-4 gadgets that are connected, so you can interlink and be able to manage how you access them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a feature phone, again, how do we protect you? Because that might not necessarily give you the opportunity to do 2FA. You could also, or which is two-factor authentication. We also can add, Ranji, what we call the way that's gone, but those questions that we ask you to, So there's many ways, Lomtunzi, but what I really want to encourage anyone at this point is that the technology solution you put should, one, be related to the risk and how quickly it can materialize, but also the level of investment that you're putting in. For our customers in the banking space, there's a reason why we make sure that two-factor authentication is key and it works, because not only does it protect the customer's money, but it creates credibility around the products and services we're creating. In a nutshell, Lomtunzi, I would encourage that as a practice is huge, and how you deliver it is making sure that there's the right understanding amongst your customers and even your employees, but not as an only security feature you put. You make sure you supplement with others that can be used to ultimately protect your business and your,
Okay, so maybe I'll just ask if it's possible to combine Clara Theo and Zacharias Tembo's questions, just in the interest of time. So Clara says, what are our most significant cyber risks? How are we mitigating them? What does our incident response plan look like? And then Zacharias says, we are in an era of collaboration. Outsourcing services are critical. What is your stance on outsourcing critical infrastructure with regards to cybersecurity?
Okay. So just keep me honest. First question.
So the first question from Clara says, what are our most significant cyber risks and how we are mitigating them, and what the incident plan looks like?
Okay. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
So our significant in this word means our biggest or our main cyber risks, and I think I touched on them earlier. They will be anywhere from malware, phishing, ransomware, and social engineering. Most cyber risk will manifest in those areas, and your response is going to be very important. And I like that you're asking this side of how we look at cyber. First of all, Organizations that are big must invest in a SOC, which is an operations center that helps you respond correctly. Cyber, specifically Ranji and everybody on the call, has a standard way that you respond to it. It's almost different from your normal incident management because this is almost crisis mode. When you have a cyber attack across an organization and they're promising to get to release your customer data, you can't respond the way you respond when there's a user that is locked. So whether you're a big organization or not, you will need to have a structure, and that structure should allow you to have the right access and the right knowledge to deal with that, and how you bring the stakeholder into place. So there's a specific cyber incident management process, and that can be sized according to the organization. Perhaps more relatable to SMEs is that within there is to know who are the decision makers and at what point you involve them. That becomes very key because in the absence of that, Ranji, you can have a cyber incident that can take 2 days and it's too late. The other bit that I want to highlight is that it's important that, Ranji, you also have systems that allow you to respond. So when you have a system, when you have a cyber attack, does your system allow you a total shutdown so that in that moment you can protect at the very least what is not and also mitigate the risk? So that becomes important as part of your process to manage that. From how you want to set up, I would say that for small and medium enterprises or smaller companies, again, just make sure that your team, and I'll say this as the biggest takeaway, Ranji, make sure that you're in your organization, everybody understands what to do, when and how. That becomes your primary protection to cyber. Because if there's a fraud in a customer's account and you report someone who hasn't, if there's an intrusion onto your database and then you are facilitating how much more of the threat can happen or the risk can happen. In terms of outsourcing, I'm very comfortable with outsourcing, and there's the reason why. All these platforms that we provide, Ranji, have what we call compliance to international standards. And that's why, remember, we are always asking for certifications, because certifications confirm to a large extent that you have reached a minimum level of understanding of a product or a solution. But within there, you also know that outsourcing also comes with a lot of credibility. Let's assume you outsource your SOC. I would almost tell you that the biggest product that any outsourced SOC or cyber operations center is selling is credibility before the solution. That people know that when they come to this institution, they are almost guaranteed nothing can go wrong. Now, it's obviously controversial, right? Because you almost have given someone to look after your business. My question to you, Ranji, would be, would you rather outsource or try to know what you can't know and then create a bigger problem for yourself? Ultimately, you have to strike a balance as a business or as an individual, because some outsource has to happen. Because remember, you will not be experts in everything. So give experts to support some of the things that you are not aware of, and they can help you give a better service.
Okay, thank you so much, Owen, and I'm hoping that the questions posed today have been responded accordingly to each of our clients who came through with a question. If just in case you still have a question that you would like to pose, to Owen, and we can take it offline and be able to reach out to you, we'll post in the chat our email address, which is womeninbusiness@absa.africa. So we'll be able to just quickly type that, and you can be able to reach out to us, and we'll be able to share the questions with Owen that you may pose beyond this particular session. But maybe as we are coming to the final close, and obviously I'd be getting to ask what your final words are to the audience. I think throughout in your presentation, you've had pictures of mice, and it's really one that, I'm not sure whether it's just play or there's a level of significance with mice now that, we're getting into the farming season, you just see these things running around. I don't know whether we should be scared when we see them. Are they carriers, of something that, within the cyberspace that we don't know? Why the mouse? Why the mice? What is it? I thought 3 blind mice at some point, but then there's more than 3. And also the guy in the hoodie who you don't see. And we're also getting into summer where, the hoodies, well, they go on break, but you still see a few people wearing the hoodies. So what is that all about?
Let's start with the hoodie. The hoodie usually is a symbol or an indication that someone maybe doesn't want to be seen or doesn't want to be social.
Mm-hmm.
So they put that on. Of course, someone might genuinely want to be warm, but 9 out of 10 times, it's also almost a symbol also, if you want to be controversial, of someone that's antisocial. But in being antisocial in the cyber context, this is someone who is not bold enough to do or to earn on their way into productivity or just make their own money. So they're hiding so they can steal from you. So I'm using these, Vanji, so people can understand from a context of what does it mean when someone that can tell you something, but they hide behind a computer as a cyber bully. That's exactly what it denotes. But the mouse, and if you look at it, the first page is talking at it as a lazo, and the lazo is not a technical word. I think that the cyber fraudsters have a similar behavior to mouse, because there's a running joke, by the way, that when a mouse gets over familiar, it can even turn on your TV at home on Sunday when you're awake. But the whole point is that the behavior of a mouse is similar, Ranji. You see, it's always going to try and get when you're not looking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what fraudsters do. 9 out of 10 times a mouse, whether it's in the farming season, it's only going to come and eat your brain when you're not there. And also, do you notice how mice only, start making noise when you are sleeping? If you have them in your vicinity, they will just show up like that. I would like people to walk away today, Ranchi, as I conclude, that when you see a mice or a mouse, be reminded that that's the character of what cyber fraudsters do. It's to take, first of all, because a mouse or a mice will never found, so they'll come and get your brain. That's exactly how cyber fraudsters behave. But also very cunning, and that's why remember always that a fraudster in the cyber specific zone is always going to be cunning and will try to be ahead of you.
Okay. So Owen, I think when all is said and done, we've spent a greater part of the hour talking all things cyber. My hope, particularly from where I'm sitting, is that we now have a better understanding of cyber or the whole digital space. And, from a client point, how do they just make sure that they're able to apply some of the principles you've been able to share today? So a big thank you to you once again for coming through. But maybe as we are now coming to a close, your final parting words.
First of all, to thank you, Banji. We've had a 1-hour conversation on cyber. I'll tell you that even when we first spoke about having a cyber session, I think my reaction to you is this is a topic that is mainly seen as for the techies. And I just want to reach out to everyone here online to say thank you for joining. Cyber health, cyber security is not just for the technical people. The technical people are the ones that will build solutions and platforms, but really the attacks and the risk is to all of us. And actually the most threatened are the ones that are unaware. So as we walk away today from this conversation, I just wanted to pause and say thank you, because what we are doing here, and for someone like me who's really been passionate about digital, is creating an opportunity for us to make sure that as we get excited on the things we are working on and building, we equip not just our customers, but our friends and families around what to look out for. This is a $10 trillion industry, and we cannot look at it as a binary thing. This is bigger than our GDP. A whole country has decided that we are going to have a cyber agency. Let's pay attention to what this is, because ultimately, for businesses that are out there, I'll tell you this: you can have the best product, you can have the best customer experience, But at the center of it is that if you don't have the right credibility around everything you do, you might lose your customers. The credibility on your platforms, on your solution, will come from customers knowing that they can trust to work with you. And that trust will come from you making sure that your cyber posture is right. So big thank you to you.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you once again, Owen, for taking time out of your busy schedule just to make sure that we're able to fully understand what cyber is. A big thank you to our clients who've been able to join us, in even our colleagues within the bank who've taken an interest just to really come and be part of today's conversation. And I think for me, as we are ending the session, 4 key aspects come into mind. Is for us to drive the right level of awareness within your respective organization, within your business entities, understand what you need to do and how. I think Owen touched on that. And then I think the fundamental one was that you can lose everything you've worked for in a year by simply clicking a button. So at the end of the day, we must ensure that we think before we click. And I think that is the fundamental aspect of it. Think before you click, think before you scan, think before you ask if the Wi-Fi is free, and just do some background checks. And on that note, I think we have now come to the close of today's masterclass. It's been a journey that we've been on, building month on month, just to make sure that as clients, we're able to support you. We do have the previous sessions that are posted on our YouTube page. So you're able to easily access that. Please just go to YouTube, search for Absa Zambia, and you'll be able to find our YouTube page. This session as well will be posted for those of us who are just joining, and we still have people joining, Owen, at this point. We still have people coming in. So please just make sure you head onto our YouTube page, and then you'll be able to access all the previous sessions that we've had. It's been a great pleasure to host all of you this afternoon. And once again, I've been your host, Banji Lufungulo, and we look forward to hosting you next month for our final masterclass. So looking forward to everybody coming to join us. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you.